So, welcome to the Mastermind on Chronic Diseases and what that is. What does it mean? How can we deal? What really is a chronic disease, and what does our body do when it decides to go chronic? So this is the Mastermind of April 2nd in 2023, and we are getting started. So let me introduce the topic a little bit and myself, and I'm going to start with this statement. We all have chronic issues. Why am I saying that? Because nature never is perfect. We're all born with defects or weaknesses or challenges or physical defects. Most of the time, the difficulties that we have are reflected in our biology, and vice versa. When there are biological defects, right, in quotation marks, then that can reflect on our mental or emotional stability. So what is the word chronic? Of course, we all understand that it's something that lasts a long time. It comes from the Greek word chronos and has been going into the Latin language and then into all the other European languages. So we have adopted this word chronic disease. And when you look it up today in our wonderful interwebs, it stands for kind of mostly irreversible illnesses. And we can easily find what belongs to these irreversible illnesses. It seems to be a difficult internet day because people are dropping in and out. Leah, is that an internet issue you're having? I saw that Arnie dropped out twice too. There you are. Okay, so having a chronic disease, okay, I'm going into, has of course been very beneficial for certain industries, right? I have long said we don't have a health insurance or a health industry because it doesn't ensure that we're healthy. What does it ensure and how does it make money, right? We have a disease industry and a disease insurance. So therefore, we get all our systems mixed up, or our understanding of the biological systems mixed up by thinking that a disease is something that falls upon us just by bad luck and circumstance, and then we're afflicted with this disease and this particular chronic disease. So I wanted to ask my audience, who here thinks that they have a chronic disease? Now, of course, I've defined it already, so I should have asked beforehand. Who here thinks you have a chronic disease? If you can put it in the chat, and that would be great. Or if you could just wave and say me, I would know that you realize that there is something that you would call a chronic disease. Now, of course, we have very much more tragic chronic diseases in especially this United States of America. And those are from heart disease to diabetes and allergies and arthritis and asthma, etc., all of these other issues in between. And we consider them chronic because we say they cannot be reversed or they cannot be cured. They can only be managed. And of course, that is the best way of retaining chronic customers, isn't it? So I want to, of course, dispute that today, that it doesn't have to be a chronic disease, because biology always rejuvenates itself if only we give it a chance. Now, we can enumerate these particular so-called chronic diseases by saying, you know, there's heart disease, there's diabetes, stroke is considered a chronic disease. Interestingly, so I have another chronic disease. I was going to tell you about some of mine. Just because I had one stroke, never anything again, but because I did something different. Cancer is a chronic disease. Now, in today's definition, obesity, and Leah, you need to listen to this, obesity is considered a chronic disease, mostly irreversible. So you need your daughter and your son-in-law to listen to this. If obesity is considered a chronic disease, no regular medical system will have the courage to even attempt to reverse it, other than surgically removing fat or you know, body mass, and or similar operations. So then there's arthritis, then there are allergies, which is another interesting phenomenon, right? Never in this history have there been so many allergies. Mind you, I'm not saying there haven't been reactions to toxins in the world. Yes, there have. We just didn't call them allergies. For example, before the chemical treatments of agriculture, there has been the use of arsenic as a pesticide. And of course, when the fields were strewn with this powdered arsenic, then that could cause severe reactions in the people administering that, or eating those crops, or being exposed to those things, those chemicals. So as of the industrial age, we have a whole lot of more exposures to all kinds of chemistry that is toxic to the human body. And kind of, we all know that, but we don't realize or don't think about why that weakens the human system to rejuvenate itself, and therefore to reverse chronic diseases, or to teach the body to make up for that which is not functioning anymore properly. We have known for a long time that the brain can rewire itself, we call that, right? Rewire itself to adjust and make up for lost faculties in one part, and another part will assume those abilities, and the brain gets rewired, in quotation marks, so that we can make up for the deficiency. One wonderful example of that is a young blind man learned how to click his tongue and echolocate the entire landscape. So he does this clicking like that, and the echo that he perceives allows him to literally see the landscapes, the buildings, arriving cars, so much so that he can bicycle in the world. So it's pretty phenomenal. Of course, it wouldn't work in a car, because you have to be exposed to the sound waves that come back to you from the environment. So the senses can all be, not all, you can't really say replaced, but they can adjust to a lack of capability, and therefore another capability takes over, and we can function very well. Now, I wanted to briefly talk about what we call birth defects, or weaknesses that everybody is born with. For the longest time, I've said, disease hits us where our body has a weak spot, a propensity, a probably genetic weakness. That's why so many people insist, no, it runs in the family. So the genetic weak spot may run in the family, but it doesn't mean that you wouldn't have the capability of training your body to better cope and better make up for that weakness. Now, in today's statistics, I just looked and I thought, oh my God, 160 million Americans have one or more chronic diseases as diagnosed. I mean, that's just staggering. That would be the entire adult population, or half of all humans, more than half of all humans living in the US of A have a diagnosed chronic disease. That is really phenomenal and staggering. So the definition, of course, having been broadened to the phenomenon of obesity, et cetera, makes that more possible. But it also provides this incredible challenge that we all should face and act upon, that we look at, well, what can we do? How can we encourage our inherent ability to reinvent the body, to rebuild the body cell by cell, tissue by tissue, so that chronic diseases disappear? Now, some people will say, well, there's nothing we can do because it's from outside. It's because the chemtrails, it's because the chlorine in the water, it's because the electromagnetic fields in the air, it's because. And yes, those are all factors. But this here body and the biology of this body and this here mind and the capability of this mind to literally produce energy fields with our thoughts and our emotions and our intentions. Those are all areas in which we have already traveled, because we know that ultimately everything is energy. And that has been shown by Dr. Joe Dispenza and many others, Dr. Gerald Hüther in Germany, and so many others have shown the incredible power of the mind to rewire itself and to rewire the electromagnetic field around ourselves with intention. So there's so much more to our ability to self-heal than meets the eye, and certainly than meets the diagnosis. A couple of examples. So I was born with a little hole in my heart. I always had purple lips. I still, to this day, I always wear lipstick because I don't want people to think, oh my God, she's so sick. But there's a weakness, of course, that comes with a defective heart. There's a low blood pressure. There's a disability in sports. You're just always like, oh, I can't run so fast, and like this. And still, when we start working with this body that we have, lo and behold, at age 64, I ran my first half marathon. So there you have it. No, I'm not the fastest, and that's not the point. The point is that I am doing it. And the point is that I can train my body to work with this heart in a way that is very efficient and very much trained for longevity and a happy functioning life. And that goes for many genetic defects or birth defects. or propensities, weaknesses that each of us has. And in some of these chronic diseases, of course, we need to retrain our biology, not just to build new cell tissue, as in, for example, diabetes, we need to retrain our body to produce the appropriate amounts of insulin and the appropriate amounts of balance in that whole system of the pancreatic excretions. And in our, if we look at asthma, we need to retrain the lung tissue to appropriately inhale, exhale, and we need to train the body not to produce all this phlegm, which is actually a reaction again to something we put into our body or that falls upon our body from the outside and or from the inside. A reaction to toxins that the body tries to excrete. So when an asthmatic person, and yes, I was raised together with my younger sister who had very, very severe asthma and would like cough up phlegm all night long and wheeze, and my parents then sent her into a boarding school in the Alps where the air was easier to breathe. And nobody realized that it could have been switched off in almost a heartbeat had we discontinued our very heavy dairy consumption. Cow's milk creates in most people phlegm production. So, and of course, there's plenty of proof and evidence for that in today's scientific literature even, but culture is always stronger than reason, and therefore we do not take action in that direction, even if we know that cheese and milk and butter and yogurt are all detrimental to human health. Yeah, people are falling in and out. Hi, Lori. So great to see you. And Michelle Suchinsky, Mitty Suchinsky, great to see you. So when we are in a culture that has a certain belief system, we are bound by that belief system almost to our own detriment, of course, definitely to our own detriment, but almost in self-destruction. And I think there is another element to this self-destruction, and that is that we have long, as a culture in many parts of the world, believed that suffering makes us somewhat better human beings, or suffering through sickness matures us. I know that my parents and teachers were talking about, every time you're sick and you come through it, you mature. And of course, there's some truth to it. Challenges mature us. But I think there's so many more challenges in this world. We shouldn't just be busy challenging our own health by destroying our own biology. And therefore, I want to talk about what we definitely can do to reverse chronic diseases. And I'm throwing them all into this one big bag. You know why? Because they are all reactions of our body, of our biology, the same biology, because biology works only in one way on planet Earth. And I know that I always remind people, how does biology work? It only works one way on planet Earth. I don't know about planet Mars or other universes out there, but I know it only works one way on planet Earth, and that is by cell reproduction and cell expansion. Do we have everybody? Have we lost somebody? People are coming in and out. And those cells that want to reproduce and fix things and rebuild things, because all of life is a life cycle, right? A new cell splits into two, or a new cell emerges, and it needs to be informed of its task in the body, properly informed, so that it can perform that task in the body. It needs to know, I need to be a liver cell, I need to be a blood cell, I need to be a brain cell, I need to be a whatever other cell. And if that information is not there because the right nutrients are not provided, the right energies, if you will, are not provided, because of course nutrients, when you really, really break it down, is also energy. Life energy is not provided, these cells don't know what to do, and they can become cancer cells. They can become bacterial cells, because a lot of bacteria is needed to expel those toxins and to try and fix up the inflammatory situation in an arthritic knee, for example, right? So we're constantly trying to fix ourselves. Now, the easy way in my book is to give the biology of the body what it needs to best do those tasks, and it will start to fix itself very rapidly. Now, what are those nutrients that we most need? Of course, lately I explained to people, all of life feeds on other live forms of life, alive things. Every breath you take, every step you make, I'll be watching you. Every breath you take, as you inhale trillions of bacteria and tiny little living entities, right? We kind of know that, but we don't want to kind of know that because of what? Because of germophobia. And it's such a schizophrenic mindset that on the one hand, we know that if we have a sterile air and sterile water, I mean, the air would be a vacuum if it were totally sterile, right? Can we breathe? Can we live? Can we function? Not even for a few minutes. We die. All of life needs to constantly be enlivened by other life forms all the time. Now let's distill that down to the human consumption of life forms. In addition to that live air that we need to inhale, what else do we need to? We need to also have sunshine. We need to have that UV light, even if the sun is not shining from the clouds, the UV light. So the incredible vitamin D deficiency, we call that, right, stems mostly from a lack of exposure to UV light that is truly from the skies and the sunshine. So we need live air, we need sunshine, which is another form of energy. Some say, it's nuclear energy, the good kind, excuse me. And we need, of course, water. And yeah, today somebody I came across was arguing that water and even salt, of course, we need a little bit of salt. It's in all plants, right? because it carries minerals into our body, and the water carries minerals into our body. If we denature the water, we're deprived of those minerals as well. The water that I drink here is from a spring straight out of the mountains, and after several times filling up the glass, you will have sediments of like powdered rock at the bottom, because that's the mineral load that this water carries. But it's really delicious and really healthy water. So even this water is alive. Yeah, and the argument was that Celtic sea salt is alive because it has plant life in it, algae life, whereas Himalayan salt is dead because it has been deep in the mountains for millennia. So I'm sure there's some truth to that as well. Now, what do we do with these chronic diseases? Where do we start? Any idea? Does anybody want to communicate? We're opening the forum now as to what to do. We've talked about the biology. We've talked about what creates healing, that's cell reproduction. We talked about the industry of the chronic situations. And of course, disclaimer here, I'm not a medical professional and I don't intend to be giving medical advice. So, and of course, in addition to that live nutrient that we need to consume, by the way, I have a really delicious live nutrient here. Look at that. It's chocolate mousse with strawberries and it's all alive. Would you believe it? There's also, of course, the fact that our biology needs physical movement. Like all life forms need some kind of movements. Of course, even a tree, though it stands still, moves inside of it all the time, right? It grows, and then of course it sheds the leaves and it grows new ones, and it has this flow of liquid going up the tree trunk just under the bark and into all the little branches. So all life forms, while alive, also need movement, and some need more and some need less. Now, we humans, being mammals, need a lot of movement. Think of all the other mammals. Which of them lays around? Well, the bears go to sleep. I guess the bears go to sleep for a few months every winter, right? So they just breathe very shallowly throughout those months that they're asleep, and then they have to eat a lot. But all mammals also require, hi Monique, require movement. So exercise, we call that today, is necessary because we don't have the need anymore to go out and dig for food or pick the apples or go. Even as a child, I still needed to go shopping down the street and carry heavy bags home, and with the potatoes and the flour and whatever we were buying. But we've eliminated all of that because the Amazon person comes and drops the parcel in front of the door, and all we need to do is open it and munch or something. So yeah, we need movement and we need live ingestion. How do we best do that? We do that by cleansing the body first with, I don't believe in water fasts, but I do think that smoothie cleanses, I'm sure water fasts have lots of benefits, but in my particular condition with that little hole and the low blood pressure and all of that, water fasts are not the best answer, but hypernutrition is, and there are many alternative people now, alternative, natural healers and nutritional doctors now who will use what is called hypernutrition, meaning that we densely consume fresh, raw, of course, always organic, no exceptions, always organic, greens and fruits, because they contain the highest density of nutrients that help us get all the vitamin C's and A's and E's. And then we have to add the B's, that the vitamin B's, that is, not the bees that bzzzt and find the honey, the vitamin B's that come in the grains and nuts. And yeah, B12 is a whole other story. I can talk about that. It's very important, and we don't have it because we clean our stuff instead of eating it straight out of the earth and getting a little dirt on there, because of course B12 is a microbe that we need and need to consume it from dirt or from, yeah, people cringe, forgive me, but it's actually in excrement. So when the worms and beetles and tiny little decomposers go through our good dirt in which good vegetables can grow, then they are transforming the dirt into the fertile dirt that becomes the fertilizer for good plant life. And so that's where the B12 is to be found. That's where the cows get their B12 and or the elephants and or the, all these big animals, the giraffes, etc., because they will consume some of that dirt, or also think of an elephant consuming whole branches of trees, where the tiny little critters and creatures on the leaves are providing the B12 as opposed to earth or soil. Okay, now I have personally seen people reverse their chronic diseases in record time. But then, of course, you need to carry it through to create a lifestyle that allows you to not fall back. Because once the body has been weakened by a chronic disease, it is so much easier to fall back. And I like to tell a story of somebody who was dying from liver cirrhosis, liver decomposition. It's the end of life stage when the liver cannot handle what you're putting into your body. Most of the time it's alcohol and drugs, or the liver is already very weak, maybe from a jaundice situation, something like that. So then there's the story of this young man having liver failure and being on his deathbed, and the Victoria Butenko family find him, and he agrees to allow them to give him, again, green smoothies and just very carefully raw food, only raw food, for a whole month, and then 3 months, and he recovers beautifully, and he starts building. They were building some kind of a block house, a wooden house at the time, so he's building with them, and he's getting strong and fabulous. And then he meets a girl and wants to take her out to dinner, and wants to be the man, and that's his background, and that's his vision of the masculine man. And he orders ribs, eats those ribs, and dies the next day. So that is to say that you can bring your body back, but it will be frail for a whole while until you've really established a lifestyle that can support and strengthen your system. Now, when you look at me as an example, I've had my stroke at 50. I'm this year going to be 70. So it's almost 20 years now. And in that stroke situation, being completely paralyzed but conscious, I decided I'm going to have the healthiest lifestyle ever. And that was going to organic, raw, plant-based food. And the proof is in the pudding. And of course, you know, many of my clients have gone through similar journeys, and we can all have this experience of self-healing. Now, I do want to hear from you, from Michelle and Monique and Leah. I know Leah's situation. And I know Shirley has been working at keeping herself strong. And yeah, just this morning, I was sitting with a dear friend and contractor who's working with me. And he was explaining to me that he spent thousands of dollars, you know, trying to demonstrate and show people and convince people that they should do the right thing and get healthy, as opposed to taking certain poisons, etc., that would further impair them. And I said, we cannot convince others against their will when they're not ready. So if you're ready, tell me now, and let's work on your particular situation, and let's get you to the exercise program you need and the food program you need to create longevity and happiness. Because the other thing is, you know, like I was discussing this morning with this friend, it's interesting, once you are on that smoothie cleanse, for example, after day 3, everybody says the brain fog cleared. I can't believe how clear my mind is. What is this? This is crazy. So that's what everybody's experiencing. So sometimes when people say, well, I'm too depressed to get started, we have to do it the other way around. We have to get started to get out of the depression, to be able to want to live a happy, long life again, right? So I'm always wavering between asking somebody who wants to be my client, well, do you really want to live? Because that's important. And they would say, well, of course, you know, who doesn't? Why would I not want to live? And then I say, well, why? And there has to be some kind of reason. And sometimes they say, I don't know. And we have to dig for that reason. What is your mission? What do you want to share with humanity? What do you want to give, or what do you want to experience still? Some people will just say, well, I want to see some of the world still because I haven't. And that's good enough reason. You need a functioning body to go see the world, obviously, right? So we work on exactly what it is that helps you to get your body in the shape to achieve that vision that you had once. Often it is, you know, well, when I was a child, I loved lying under trees and looking out into the trees and hearing the insects buzz, etc. Okay, so what is it you want to do? Well, maybe a summer camp, but then I don't really want to work with kids. Okay, so we got to a glamping business, and he is now has started his glamping business. So this is just, you know, one example of how you slowly get there. And he says, yeah, it became clear because my mind suddenly was able to focus and suddenly was able to make decisions. It's incredible how decision making is not something that comes easy for anybody. Okay, who's saying I just wanted to participate? Michelle? Was that you texting?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. I was just on email and I saw that you had your webinar starting, so I just thought I would listen and participate while I could.
Wonderful.
And I know I text you often to get your goodies, to get your hit veggie burgers, and I'm trying to, I went to Hippocrates, so I try to follow. I'm mostly raw. I do in the winter, probably 60 to 75% raw. And now as we move into spring
Yeah.
and I had an early stage of breast cancer, but everything is okay right now. And so just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And yeah.
Michelle, can I ask you quickly, did you have that brain fog experience when you
I
went
had
to Hippocrates?
brain fog. Like lifting. No, I felt much better, but it took a good week. I felt, it took a good week for my body to like transition and feel better. By the second week, I was feeling better, but the first week I was still feeling a little bit, yeah, just like things needed to shift. But after, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, it also depends a little bit on how extreme that transition is. I mean, at Hippocrates, you still get a full meal, right? In the evening.
Yes.
So it takes a little bit longer. And of course, people have experienced the healing even when going just organic, whole food, cooked food, or half and half kind of thing. It still works, but instead of 3 weeks, it takes 3 months.
Yeah.
So I often say, if you really want fast results, then the smoothie cleanse or juice cleanse, which I'm not so fond of because it often lacks the fiber to wash out your colon, which is always full of gook if you've had anywhere close to a regular diet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I know, and yeah, I know they're fans of just the regular juicing, not the smoothies, but
yeah, I know. I had this discussion with Brian many times. So
yeah.
but
I have to go, but thank you so much. And I'll try to make the next one.
Very good.
I'll be in touch via text about ordering some more goodies.
Okay, yeah, actually I just got an order today, so I'll be in the kitchen making, because I still don't have a factory, as you may know.
Yes.
So yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's
Bye,
all good.
everybody.
Thanks for joining and for sharing.
Have a great Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Let's give Michelle some love. And how does this work? Actually, I never do this. Oh no, I only get the heart. She doesn't get the heart. Okay. All right, Monique, do you want to share? You have to unmute yourself if you are available. And Shirley is doing the right thing already, which is good. So, and Leah needs to get started, and we'll talk about getting you started anyway. I'm offering exercises twice a week. Currently I have it at 1 p.m. because my Irish former assistant in Zimbabwe wants to join. The world is such a small place now. She's now in Ireland. So Mondays and Wednesdays at 1 p.m. I will be doing my exercise program, and you can join that for $25 a month. And after that, at 2 p.m., I will be talking generally about certain topics of health and can address particular problems just verbally. And of course, if you're listening to this mastermind at a different time and have a chronic disease that needs attention, and you really want to establish the lifestyle to get you out of all your chronic diseases, then you will want to join the Super Happy Body class, which is a 12-month course. I'm now doing it. You can join anytime. But it follows quite a strict program to go through different experiences from always starting in my life, always starting with the smoothie cleanse or the smoothie feast. It's really more like the smoothie feast. So it's lots of high density nutrients. And of course, to round out Michelle's mention of, that I have these arguments with Dr. Brian Clement over juice versus smoothie, that my other colleague, Dr. Brooke Goldner, who famously wrote Goodbye Lupus, does the high density smoothie cleanse, so or feast, if you will. So high cruciferous green smoothie cleanse, and has phenomenal results with that. So the proof again is in the pudding. They all work, and they all work slightly differently, but they do all work, all these approaches. I just like smoothies better, and I make a sweet one and a savory one, which is the other thing that I like, that in the smoothie operation, you can have a salad smoothie, but that's a little spicy and with garlic and stuff in it, and all lots of greens and cucumbers and avocados. And then you can have the sweet smoothie, sweet in quotation marks, with also cruciferous greens like cabbage and kale, but then on top banana and mango and berries, so that you can have a very fruity, sweet experience versus the savory experience, and can have both, and you feel very satiated and satisfied. So we'll be having our next smoothie cleanse soon, and that's something you can sign up for. That's a little bit more. It's $97 for the smoothie cleanse. It's a 7-day smoothie cleanse where we meet every day and get recipes and talk about results, etc. And and then of course the big program continues with trauma work, because we all also have emotional, mental trauma one way or another, and that we need to come to terms with that. But I don't just want you to come to terms with what you've experienced. I want you to use what you've experienced. And I should call it turn your traumas into tools. And actually, Brian said to me, Johanna, can I steal that? And I said, yes, of course. Turn your traumas into tools. So that's another thing where I work with people individually to see where their traumas is and how that can empower them for the next chapter of their life. And then there's exercise programs and breathing programs. And then there's the whole, what's in your household, products, education on what you should and should not have in your household, and how you deal with your from your laundry to your shampoo, right? Everything. And then you create a lifestyle. And of course, purpose is very important. What's your purpose? What do you want to do next? What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to earn your money, if that is a goal? And how can that be done using online modalities, using even yes, even ChatGPT can be included. It's a new thing where we can communicate quickly with people, and with a lot of people, to find who needs what we have to offer. Because, as my business coach used to say and still says, in today's world, we're not selling a product. We're allowing people to benefit from our particular way of doing things and allowing people to create their own way of doing things by giving them a structure of how they can get there, and not to be carbon copies of me, but to create in you that which is your best health and your best happiness. That's why my program is called the Super Happy Body, because you need a super happy body to do what you really want to do in life most effectively. So that's it for today's masterminds. Now, I've asked you guys to ask questions. Leah, can you unmute yourself on the phone and ask a question if anything comes up? Monique, can you ask a question? Shirley, can you ask a question? Oh, yes, of course, teeth, Monique, teeth are, of course, part of our bone structure and very much a genetically inherited weakness. Mine are a very good example. I just broke one of my self-fabricated fake teeth that I literally make myself. So you can certainly learn that from me, how to do that if you don't want to wear the regular, get everything pulled and want to get the regular dentures, which I still don't want to do. Years ago, actually 30 years ago, dentists have already said to me, just get everything pulled and get either implants or dentures, because, your teeth material is so poor that it's just not going to last. But look here, these are all real still. These are all still mine, and they're fully functional. And then I make my own. There's a way of making your own. It's not very complicated. If you still have teeth on both sides of where the teeth are missing, so that you can pluck, like build your own bridge and pluck it in between. And there's a biodegradable material that I use that is non-toxic, probably less toxic actually than wearing those dentures. But I haven't researched it. It's just the easier way of going about it. And then yeah, having everything removed and implants can cause all kinds of other issues. So Monique, if you want to learn that, please allow me to connect with you. So I will do that. So I will connect with you to see if we can help you with the tooth issue, or find ways to allow you to find a place that is affordable, which is the other issue. Do I really want to throw $20,000 at my teeth? Because even in a cheap version of denture, of implants, that's what they would cost. So do I really want to throw money at that, or do I want to do something more meaningful with those kind of dollars if I have them? So I'll connect with you on teeth and surviving deteriorating teeth. Of course, a lot of the fact that I even still have what I still have has to do with me changing my diet and my lifestyle altogether as well. But yeah, we got to deal with what we can't regrow teeth. That's definitely one thing that we cannot do. Only young children can actually regrow enamel over small cavities with the right high nutrient dense foods. But at our age, we cannot. All right, good. Shirley, any question you might want to ask?
Well, I'll tell you, can you hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
If you can imagine, I had perfect, beautiful teeth.
That
And
is amazing. And
now, not now. Well, what I did was when I went to rejuvenate my sister's place, she had these lemon trees, Meyer lemon trees, and I started eating the lemons whole. And my teeth, well, it didn't happen right away. My teeth started,
so you think the lemons affected your teeth?
yes. Because,
Interesting.
because then the dentist said, and grapefruit. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
love grapefruit.
honestly, Shirley, I tend to not believe that. But
Well, the dentist then did say that the lemons and the grapefruit like that remove the enamel, break down the enamel.
yeah, but you have to have already very weak enamel for that to even happen, because of course, many cultures that are known for good teeth eat those fruits all day long because they grow in those regions, right? Like Mediterranean, etc.
I understand. I also started using baking soda.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
baking soda I no longer use, but I used it for a number of years. That was the wrong thing to use. I thought, okay, that's something natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
did not use fluoride.
Yeah, but on the other hand, citrus fruits are actually alkalizing. They're not acidifying in the body. They're alkalizing the whole pH level in your body. So that's an established fact. So I just want to make sure that we don't construe this as, citrus fruits are suddenly bad for your teeth. They are not. But of course, dentists don't know anything about, they just think, okay, sour acid, eats up the enamel. Well, the fluoride in your toothpaste can do that, but not the lemon. I just want to put that out there.
Well, through the National Health Federation, I used to lobby against.
Yeah, and there are of course other toothpastes that, I mean, I've not used toothpaste for many years now. I use a little bit because I like the high menthol and effect and the charcoal whitening effect. I use a charcoal peppermint paste that is sort of very, very basic. Of course, no fluoride or any of those things, Alice.
And then during COVID, I did not have my teeth cleaned for 4 years. And my teeth started deteriorating.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to caution people against thinking that the dentists know what kind of foods are good for your teeth. For the most part, they have no idea, because that's not what they study. And of course, it is their business to do cleansing and cleaning. And I mean, I'm going to go and have the remaining teeth cleaned.
And then I went to a holistic dentist starting about 7 years ago.
So they know a little bit more. That's good.
But he uses ozone, coconut ozone.
Ozone therapy can be very effective. Ozone is a wonderful thing, because the higher you climb in the high mountains on this planet, like I've been on 3,500 meter, that's like 11,000-12,000 feet peaks, where there's no tree growth, just rocks. And And up there, the air is so thin that it smells much more like ozone. It's really cool. But
Yep.
yeah,
That's like the Himalayas, which I got stranded over the Himalayas in Nepal 55 years ago.
you were there?
Yes. Yes. I saved my money because I knew, and I was a teacher, and I knew I met these teachers on these trips, and none of them could get out of the boat and walk. They had eaten, like when I was teaching junior high, the favorite thing to eat.
I
was-
can't hear you anymore,
Oh.
Shirley, but you were in the Himalayas 55 years ago. That is the coolest thing. And I think on that note, we shall close because we're over our time and it's been wonderful having you. I think that's so awesome that, you know, we allow ourselves to have those experiences on this little planet that are just mind-boggling and super important that we have them. So, and yeah, and we get a little bit of a taste of what ozone tastes like when the air gets thinner up there, right?
Yes. Now, everyone, no one else from our group, from a group of students with USF, University of San Francisco, for credit, wanted to go out. They wanted to have hamburgers wherever they went.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
But most of them are probably no longer on this planet, but you are.
Yes. I deteriorated a lot just in the past 4 years, taking care of my husband who passed away.
I
but
know.
Still practicing.
I know, Shirley, but I'm going to close right now on
Okay.
this note that you went to the Himalayas. I want everybody to find their Himalayas to go to and go there with a functioning body and take example, because Shirley is in her 80s and she's fit and she's capable, and I love it. And I want us all to learn from each other how to maintain and reinvigorate ourselves and get rid of those chronic diseases, because yes, we can. And I'm going to talk to you guys soon. Hasta luego. Until next time.
Hasta luego. Taxameca.
See. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Joanna.
Touch. Bye, Leah. I'm going to be in touch.
Superwoman Joanna.
Woo-hoo! Thank you.
Super smoothie.
All right.